the last preliminary bout between Antonio DeMarco of Mexico, Jorge Linares of Venezuela. But Linares, being from Venezuela, is very similar to Sergio Martinez being from Argentina. He doesn't spend time there. He spent most of the last 8 years as an expatriate in Japan. 1 year age advantage for DeMarco, also an 1.5 inch height advantage for the southpaw Mexican. Arm length equal at 23 inches. They both weighed in under the 135-pound limit. Linares is coming up from his previous weight of 130. Tonight, Linares has rehydrated all the way up to 145. DeMarco is at 142. Let's go to Michael Buffer for the official introductions.
From Staples Center, Los Angeles, California, USA, the action continues, and it's, of course, brought to you by Golden Boy Promotions and Gary Shaw Productions, sponsored by Tecate, Cerveza con Carácter, AT&T, get it faster with 4G, rethink possible, and Ripley's, believe it or not, proudly freaking out families for 90 years. This bout sanctioned by the California State Athletic Commission, Chairman John Frierson, and the World Boxing Council President Jose Suleiman. At ringside, the 3 judges scoring this contest will be Jerry Cantu, Joel Scobie, and Marshall Walker. And inside the ring, in charge of the action at the bell, referee Raul Caiz Sr. And now, ladies and gentlemen, 12 rounds of boxing for the vacant WBC Lightweight Championship of the World. Fighting out of the blue corner, wearing purple, official weight 134.6 pounds. His professional record, 31 victories, including 20 knockouts, only 1 defeat. Originally from Barinas, Venezuela, but now training and fighting out of Tokyo, Japan. He's the #2 ranked fighter in the world, 2-time world champion, Jorge El Niño de Oro Linares. And fighting out of the red corner, wearing white, official weight 134.4 pounds. His professional record, 25 victories, including 18 KOs. Only 2 defeats with 1 draw. From Tijuana, Mexico, the #1 ranked WBC lightweight contender in the world, Antonio DeMarco.
A ver, fuímonos, muchachos, vámonos. Jorge. Ok, muchachos, les di las instrucciones ahí abajo. Los calzones están un poquito altos, así que aquí está perfecto. Ok, dense la mano, buena suerte, y a la esquina a esperar la canción.
For the second time in recent years, Freddie Roach has taken on a boxing prodigy. Long, lanky, punching power, hand speed, boxing skills, who was knocked out in the first round and considered damaged goods. The first was Amir Khan, who right now is on top of the world. Linares is the latest. He's facing, for the second time in his career, a young, hungry, hard-punching contender. The first time he was knocked out in 1 round by Salgado. DeMarco hopes to turn the trick again.
Antonio DeMarco is dangerous, a southpaw puncher with speed. But Jorge Linares was once regarded as one of the most outstanding prospects to come into the sport in recent years. And despite the 1-round knockout disaster a couple of years ago in Juan Salgado, Freddie Roach and physical trainer Alex Ariza cannot conceal their enthusiasm about Linares, who they think is, if anything, potentially a better prospect than Khan.
I thought Linares was the most natural fighter in the game. One of the most, one of the real prodigies of recent years. And everyone was very shocked when he was knocked out in the first round by Salgado.
Well, immediately here you see the movement, the bounce me on his feet, the strong, assertive jab, the broad shoulders on a 135-pound body. Jorge Linares physically has everything. Maybe not big punching power, but everything else. And incidentally, he's fighting with pink gloves as a significant tribute to Breast Cancer Awareness Month. You'll notice that the neutral corners both have pink ring pads. denoting the Susan G. Komen Breast Cancer Awareness Campaign. The entire ring is presented here tonight in support of breast cancer awareness by Golden Boy Promotions and Gary Shaw.
Amir Khan, by the way, Freddie Roach's other reclamation project, is seated next to Oscar De La Hoya, the Golden Boy himself.
And I don't want Roach and Ariza to get angry at me for saying that they think that Linares can be a better prospect than Khan. What they mean is that his potential is enormous, but he may not yet know how good he can be.
You know, I'm saying, look at DeMarco. We're speaking just about Linares. He's a very cool fighter too. Keeps his distance, rangy, tall. He's not letting Linares get his rhythm boxing. Very smart. But you look at the natural athleticism in Linares. It's phenomenal the way he's balanced, the way he balances his legs, everything. One of the most coordinated athletes I've ever saw.
Yeah, and you know, I mean, you said it, phenomenal. You saw the quick left hook, the speed.
And balance, always.
He's just remarkable.
What's amazing is usually a fighter with natural talent can get away with mistakes and isn't technically superior to world-class opponents. He just has a talent advantage. Linares' natural talent has resulted in amazing technique.
Perfect left hook, and he landed a straight right hand. I mean, this is against a very good opponent, Antonio DeMarco. Some people wondered if Linares was in too deep. He's dominating the first round with activity, movement, speed, boxing ability. Jorge Linares just spent the first 3 minutes making an extremely good fighter look ordinary.
Relax.
Nice job. Okay, that's the way. Nice job. You're boxing well. You control the ring very well. Keep working like that. Okay, it's a very good round. Okay, remember the jab is the key.
No quiero que te tengas que parar como ahorita jalando tanto los brazos, ¿eh?
I don't want you to go in and you gotta bend your waist and short punches to do the job that we need to do, okay? Build your confidence. All right? Don't let his speed shock you. He's not faster than I am. Get your range, get your rhythm, and press.
CompuBox numbers in round one. DeMarco was 2 of 31. And you heard his trainer, Romulo Cararte, say, try to get your feet on the ground and get your confidence here. Don't be shocked by his speed. Linares, 11 of 42 in the first round. And the speed did appear shocking.
Jim, you know, I don't normally say this, but this seems to be one of the most fantastic boxers I have ever saw in my life. Just the first three, I cannot believe the balance, precision punching, the in and out, the hand position. It's like a well-oiled machine. And looking at the expression of DeMarco's face when he went to his corner, you could see that he's a little bit troubled by the speed.
We saw Linares against Oscar Larios as a featherweight several years ago. And Emmanuel, that was exactly my impression. Wow, I don't know if I've ever quite seen this before. Linares' level of talent and skill at that early age.
See that? Just one step back.
And as a lightweight here, he looks faster to me than he did as a lighter fighter because he's fighting bigger, slower fighters.
And well, Alex Ariza says that he's going to grow right through the lightweight division in less than a year, and he's going to be at 140 by this time next year. Look at the shoulders, and you can see why.
Yet there still remains the question about his chin, having been KO'd with, you know, really brutally in one round.
That can happen to anyone. You get caught cold out of a certain nerve, a certain spot. You know, it's a lot of great fighters get knocked out.
It can particularly happen in the first round,
in the first round when the body's not warmed up.
Looks good and warm now.
It would be nice to see Linares' chin tested here. It was expected that we would see Linares' chin tested with a straight left hand by DeMarco, and the law of averages tells you it's going to happen at some point because Linares is not by nature a knockout fighter. Knockouts come from an accumulation of punishment rather than from one punch.
Well, DeMarco seems to be trying to adjust to Linares' rhythm right now a little bit better. Doing a much better job of getting away from punches. And I think the first round it was where he just was not prepared for anyone with that speed.
This has been a much more even round than the first, and DeMarco has begun to move and throw punches, which shows that his confidence is returning.
So far, Linares has been the aggressor, but Jim, you and I have talked off camera about Linares and agreed that he does have the ability to hurt you going backwards, Linares. We haven't seen that yet in this fight, but he's a smooth boxer with power in any direction, though he's not known as a power puncher.
We talked about Linares' unusual background, having left Venezuela long ago to live and fight in Japan. Antonio DeMarco, at age 14, left Los Mochis in Sinaloa, where he was born, and moved to Tijuana with an aunt, who 1 year later kicked him out onto the street. And Antonio DeMarco went through 2 years of living on the streets in Tijuana before he was adopted by boxing people who he says saved his life.
This may be DeMarco's round this right here. So he's looking very good. He's adjusted a lot to Linares' speed and picked up his speed. Yes.
But yes, it was a much better round for DeMarco there.
Thought Linares won it again.
Some water, please. Watch the power. You see he's working that crush shot, man. You miss. You know he's going to throw it again.
A little more activity, a little more combination. Okay. He's only punching when he has you on the ropes. When you have him on the ropes, you're in control of everything. You dictate the pace. But put him on the ropes, more combinations on the ropes.
Freddie Roach needs a haircut tonight, but otherwise his career looks amazing. Emmanuel Stewart, it's well known that Roach trains the world's most celebrated prize fighter right now, Manny Pacquiao, but he also trains two of its most outstanding prospects in Amir Khan and Jorge Linares. What has made Freddie Roach such an effective trainer?
One thing, he eats and sleeps boxing. He's at the gym at 8 o'clock in the morning to 8 o'clock at night. He had a good apprenticeship as a trainer by being a boxer himself from 15, 16 years old, professional fighter. And then he was tutored and mentored by one of the great boxing trainers, Eddie Futch. And as a result, he's made his transition from the beginning all the way up to the top. And he has a good gym where he's got a lot of the top fighters in competition with each other. And there's nothing can top that off. And you have the best boxing with the best.
He has the kind of scene that you had at the Kronk in the early days with bushels of terrific fighters in the ring against each other.
Yes, you have the shop fighters, pool shooters, or whatever. They're shooting against the best. The game goes up.
And incidentally, a part of what happens there, of course, is the synergy with Pacquiao. We've talked in the past about Amir Khan's learning curve as the result of getting the chance to spar with Pacquiao. Jorge Linares sparred 30 rounds with Manny Pacquiao in preparation for this fight. He was 16 of 47 in the second round, even more accurate in the second round than in the first. He's blocking DeMarco's right hand with his left and firing back with straight rights. That time DeMarco fired the left down the middle.
I see how Freddie has trained him to be a more aggressive fighter. Linares, I'm not sure. I mean, he can pull it off because he's so talented. But I think his natural disposition is to counterpunch. I don't know if this is really his personality.
Well, if he can do both, because he's a gifted counterpuncher. If Freddie can teach him to lead and dominate that way as well, he's going to be very, very difficult for anyone. Of course, assuming that the chin will hold up. Again, we'd like to see it tested tonight against DeMarco.
As you mentioned, Jim, sparring against Pacquiao. This is
great training. You know, earlier when I first heard of him, he was with Ken Adams, was a trainer when he was invading. Ken Adams, what a great fight he was.
That uppercut was sick.
It's like Scottie Pippen scrimmaging against Michael Jordan. You can't help but to get better.
100%. There's a mouse under the left eye of DeMarco, probably from a Linares right hand. Right hand lands for Linares over the top. Lands a combination, takes a right hand and a left from DeMarco. Oh. Linares is beginning to show that instinct to answer back after he's been hit.
And not only can he punch, but he can get out of the way and come back
in the middle of it.
Great balance. Unbelievable balance.
Well, we've mentioned that Jorge Linares is training in the Golden Boy gym there now, and there's his sparring partner for 30 rounds coming into the fight. Manny Pacquiao doing for Linares the same thing he's done for Amir Khan, which is in effect to both train with them and train them with his own extraordinary ring intelligence and all his physical gifts. And here's a look at Linares on the left and Pacquiao in the blue singlet as they sparred with each other last week.
Yes, no problem.
And this is a small abrasion above the right eye, which Linares got courtesy of Pacquiao. Now again, that was 2 weeks ago, so it remains to be seen whether there's enough of a weakness above the right eye that DeMarco could create a cut by hitting him there. Hobbybox numbers in the third round. DeMarco was seen to land 5 of 39, Linares 21 of 56. Through 3 rounds, Linares has landed 48 counted punches to only 12 for DeMarco. Harold, how do you have it through 3?
You know, Jim, I've got a 3-0, 30-27 Jorge Linares. And I think the key to the fight is Jorge Linares just keeps getting off first. He backs Antonio DeMarco, you know, he backs him up and he keeps him off balance. DeMarco doesn't get off unless he's coming forward like that. Linares let him get off first, DeMarco scored. But basically, it's Linares coming forward, getting the first punch in, and he's landing the punches. Now, this is very interesting. Antonio DeMarco bites down on that mouthpiece. For some reason, Jorge Linares has his mouth wide open for 3 rounds. I don't know why, Jim.
Mentioned how Pacquiao helps Linares. The sparring that Pacquiao's getting from Linares pays to be in a good competitive gym.
You know, you mentioned Max Linares' tendency as a natural counterpuncher. A question about fighters at the highest skill level often is, can they fight backing up? I guess in his case, the question is, can he fight going forward?
I guess the answer is yes, based on this.
So far.
Linares is, along with a guy we're going to see next week on Boxing After Dark, Nonito Donaire, of all the kind of under-celebrated, great young up-and-coming fighters, probably the most gifted.
Well, as is usually the case, some people wrote him off after the first round knockout loss to Salgado. But as Emmanuel Stewart said a couple of rounds ago, it can happen to anyone. It happened to Khan, and look where Khan is now.
Donaire has a much more extensive and impressive resume than Linares at this point in their careers.
Way more accomplished, of course. But the gifts are similar, is what you're saying.
Yeah. You know, the first thing I thought about was Nonito Donaire when I saw him. Just naturally gifted, perfect balance, well-coordinated athletes that can punch and get in and out of a position so quickly that the opponent can't even take advantage of them, even if they miss a punch.
I actually think Donaire is a more talented athlete. He is maybe faster with better punching power, but Linares combines that sort of thing with real craft at this stage in his career that you don't normally see.
Partially because he's handsome, and partially because his promoter in Japan, Mr. Honda, is a friend of Oscar De La Hoya's. The comparison has always been to De La Hoya. Is there, in fact, a similarity in style, Emmanuel?
Yes, it is. Oscar had a beautiful left jab that was coming up. It had a strange left hook that was very effective. He was a better puncher probably than Linares. But for just all-around coordination and balance, I would say Linares is one of the best I've ever saw.
Yeah, I would say there's like something Robinson to his game. Lanky, counterpuncher with power who can be aggressive.
The referee for the main event tonight is Pat Russell. Let's go to referee's instructions in the dressing room. First,
definition of holding, the best you're ever going to get. When I tell you you're holding, free your hands up and punch your way out. If I'm going to do breaks, I do 2 commands. First one is stop punching, means just that, protect yourself. Let me untangle you. I tap you in the shoulder, I say break once, loud voice, take a step, and then come right back to punching. Last 10 seconds, I'm close. As soon as that bell goes off, no more punching, protect yourself, and back to the corner. Do you have any questions about me? Are you comfortable with just your championship that I say? Good. Coach, you got the word on whether or not it's going to be a butt or a punch on the cuts? You aware of all that? You're going to get the first shot to work at as long as you can see. If the doctor wants to look, that's when I'll call timeout at that 50 seconds as we discussed. Mouthpiece comes out, I'm going to grab it and hold it. I'll come back, you wash it out, I'll put it back in, and then we'll discuss things between rounds if there's any questions. Okay. It's a world championship fight. Good luck to you. See you in the ring.
he's fighting Bernard Hopkins. Emmanuel, should trainer John Scully have had something else to say to Russell there?
Well, they've been making a big issue about Bernard being a dirty fighter, Bernard being a butter, Bernard does this. I'm surprised he didn't say anything. But, boxing is tough. And I think Chad knows that he's going in fight with Bernard. Bernard is going to do everything legally that he can do to win, which is what he should do. But normally, in this case here, the cornerman, a trainer, would say something to the referee.
To be fair, the referee's instructions went on for 2.5 to 3 minutes. We only showed you a 1-minute clip, so it's possible that conversation did take place elsewhere. It's possible Scully feels that the point has already been made because promoter Gary Shaw is a battering ram on subjects like that, does a very good job of making officials aware of how he feels if in fact there's a possibility of fouls. Power punches through round 4 in this particular fight. DeMarco 14 of 52. He's having trouble getting off because of Linares' movement. Linares 28 out of 91, including a 14-3 advantage in the 4th round. Now, it'll be interesting to see if Jorge Linares has bad rounds or fades at some point during the fight, because what we've seen in the first 4 rounds appears extraordinary.
And yet, DeMarco, in the face of this extraordinary talent, doesn't seem discouraged to me, and has landed some shots in this round.
Yeah, but look at how Linares landed a 3-punch combination and then easily slipped the right.
Yes, he punches and gets away. Never leaves himself to get caught by stating it in mind his work. After he punches, he moves away.
Oh, hard right hand. Most stunning punch he's thrown.
In the past, Linares has thrown more straight punches. Not to say that these punches are wide, but there are more bent punches here, I notice. Hooks with bad intentions and those sorts of things.
One question the fight may answer is whether you can knock a man out with pink gloves. You can knock breast cancer out, perhaps.
See if Ann Wolfe ever wore pink gloves. I'm sure she knocked some people out.
Anyone she wants. Linares has an interesting way of rolling with punches, Emmanuel. I mean,
yes.
I haven't seen a fighter turn his head as radically as he does. He got hit with an uppercut there by DeMarco, maybe the best punch in a while for Antonio DeMarco.
And he just tried to roll his head the wrong way with that punch. Straight left hand, he tried to roll as though it was a right hand.
I saw him roll a lot from DeMarco's right hook, which I've never saw anyone do that. That's a fighting southpaw. But, he's been very well taught in addition to his natural coordination. He does a lot of rolling, dipping, and dodging, mixes up everything.
Doesn't just roll, he turns his head all the way around.
Slips, ducks, turns, pivots.
Panamanian Roberto Duran style.
¿Por qué? Te sientes muy amarrado, ya te controló con la velocidad. No tenemos tiempo para estar perdiendo de esta manera. Todo lo que nos ha llevado de calle y está creciendo y tú te estás arreglando.
Now he's trying to force the action, trying to back you up. Let's get control. Let's control him with the jab. The jab's too much.
Por dentro, cuando estás en corto, no busques que Reveles se meta.
More on the inside.
Métete con mucha cintura y con la mano
Go on
bien
the
cerradita.
inside, flex your waist, and close up the guard.
No saques un golpazo. Primero métele en tu ritmo.
Here you see beautiful in and out balance, coordination, unbelievable. And you'll see, in addition to this ability to punch, get away from a punch, and then accurate pinpoint punches.
That's perfect form on the jab.
Perfect form.
That's
position.
perfect form on the right cross.
And then ready to move away right away instead of standing there and getting hit with a return punch.
So let's see if Antonio DeMarco can find a way to turn things around in round 6 of his schedule 12 against Jorge Linares. And Harold Letterman gave that last round to DeMarco, narrowing the lead on the scorecards to 49-46.
Probably because of that beautiful right uppercut that he landed on Linares.
There's a hard right hand by DeMarco. Good quick right hook, one of his best punches so far.
I thought Linares has won every round, including last round, where though DeMarco did better work, I think our eye has been unaccustomed to seeing Linares' head do what it just did, which is snap back from a punch.
Hard right hand by Linares.
But if he's learned about scoring, sometimes some rounds are just scored comparatively.
Right.
Because one does better in one round than he did in a previous round.
And your eye gets trained to see one guy's head snap back. So when the other guy's head snaps back, you can kind of, it leaves a greater impression.
Well, certainly DeMarco's more comfortable and more engaged in the fight than was the case in round one when he seemed stunned by Linares' speed. He isn't in that mode anymore at all. It's a fight.
Yeah, even though Linares is winning, right, as you said, Jim, it is a fight right now.
And this is an important...
DeMarco is fighting very, very seriously and has a lot of confidence in himself still.
Dedicated, spirited fighter. He put up a heck of a show against the
Edwin Valero.
Tremendous punching Edwin Valero a couple of years ago.
This is an important test for Linares, a
Good
young
hard
fighter.
left hand by DeMarco down the middle.
A young fighter who's shown up to win and is fighting with energy and is not getting discouraged. How does Linares respond?
Now, this is DeMarco's best round, it appears to me. And if Harold Letterman gave DeMarco the last round, he might wind up giving him this one too, because DeMarco's landed some very good, clean shots in the last minute, and now there's blood on Linares' nose. And once again, Linares starts to show that instinct of wanting to fire back and attack when it's clear that he's been hurt and been marked.
Freddie Roach told Linares to control the action with his jab because DeMarco is starting to get a little rowdy and trying to take the fight to Linares. Linares has not heeded that advice.
Well, he couldn't. After the first round, DeMarco got adjusted to his speed. At first, he was bewildered by the speed of Linares, and from that point on, Linares has never been able to just dominate him by landing blows. And at this stage right now, DeMarco's coming on and actually winning the fight at these last two rounds.
Well, ever since the blood appeared, however, Linares has gone back at him with force and with effectiveness.
Yep. And the Mexican fans have come alive.
Good uppercut by DeMarco after the two good body shots by Linares.
Linares, because he's not using the jab, is fighting the fight right now at DeMarco's preferred distance and getting hit far too often.
Linares' excellent cut man, Joe Chavez, is going to have work to do between rounds. Hard to tell exactly where the cut is, but it appears to be above the eyebrow between the eyes, or maybe on the bridge of the nose. Now let's quickly go to referee's instructions in Bernard Hopkins' dressing room. We'll update the cut when we come back.
There's no 3 knockdowns in California, no 3 knockdowns for the ABC Championship. They think the fight rolls after 3 knockdowns, let it roll. If you get knocked down, you're going to see down, up at the count of 8. I want you to walk to me. Convince me you're okay. At all times, convince me you're okay. I want to make sure your health and safety is number 1 in my book. Other than that, I'm going to let you work.
There you go. Rinse. Agua.
There's the cut.
Okay. Now, let's work behind that jab. Let's work behind that jab. Double jab and combinations. Let's go.
All right, Emmanuel Stewart, assess the danger and the damage of that particular cut.
Well, that type of a cut is very difficult to stop, but it's not in the danger of interfering with the fighter's vision, which is good. But at this stage, I think it's not just the cut, it's the fact that this guy's not used to being hit that much, in addition to bleeding. And at this stage, DeMarco is landing more clean, effective punches than Linares has all throughout the entire night.
CombiBox numbers in 6. DeMarco 18 of 44. Linares 27 of 86. Every connected punch in the round by both fighters was a power shot. Harold, how do you have it through 6?
I've got it 4 rounds to 2, 58-56. Jorge Linares. And I'll tell you why I gave round 5 to Antonio DeMarco. For 4 rounds, Jorge Linares came forward. He got off first. I said it the last time I gave my score. And yet, in round 5, all of a sudden, Jorge Linares starts going backwards. DeMarco started to take control of the fight, getting off first, backing him up. And when a southpaw pushes you back, you're in big trouble, and DeMarco's showing that. Round 6, same thing. Antonio DeMarco coming forward, getting off first, landing big shots. Jorge Linares' face is showing it. 4 rounds to 2, Jorge Linares.
Hey, by the way, DeMarco drew blood on Edwin Valero, too, in 2 different places, before Valero ultimately got him in the 9th.
Well, what's indisputable is that Harold correctly anticipated in the 5th round that there was a change in the fight, or correctly identified that there was a change in the fight.
Indeed. And heard Freddie Roach urging Linares to go back to trying to control the fight behind his jab. DeMarco's made contact with that cut on the bridge of the nose, and now the blood is flowing again here in round 7. Remember that some judges score blood, and this will help DeMarco. Well, it certainly helps his confidence as he continues to build his way back into the fight, watching the blood flow down Linares' face. And this is some test now for young Jorge Linares.
You know, the way Linares rolls his head his way if a right-hander was throwing a right hand at him, he would roll that way. You would think that he would not be making his head rolling to his right, which is the wrong move for a southpaw, especially after so many rounds of boxing with Manny Pacquiao.
Right. In other words, when you roll with a punch, the idea is to move your head, move your head in the direction
that the
punch is coming to take something off it.
Linares
Linares is
just
moving in the opposite direction, as though he's going to turn a softer punch into a harder punch. He's turning into the punch.
Yeah.
After all that talk about how gifted and technically excellent he is.
Yeah, but he's still very gifted. But I think that DeMarco, we probably have underestimated. We were so busy praising Linares. But I saw after the first round, DeMarco make a gradual transition and get more into the fight because he adjusted to the speed of Linares.
He never got frustrated by Linares.
Never got frustrated.
Hey, listen, he's a tough Brazilian guy. He lived for 2 years on the streets of Tijuana. Go try that sometime. He comes from Los Mochis, one of the toughest towns in lower Mexico down in Sinaloa, which also has produced other prize fighters, Eric Montiel, Jorge Arce, and Humberto Soto, who is a distant cousin of his. Not without credentials.
Which that you get? Establish yourself. You understand? Where's the swell? Press, Antonio. Water. Don't wait. Don't tie yourself up. Don't wait. You're here. You've got it. Work one side. Work the other side.
Necesito que ya te sueltes. Quiero un apretón a ver si lo podemos noquear.
Under and out on the left, okay? After the hook, under and out. Alex?
Okay.
Keep good 3-4 punch combination, under and out.
Well, this is becoming a very interesting fight to score as you watch Joe Chavez working that very bad cut on the bridge of the nose.
Yes, sir.
In Linares' corner.
100%.
In the 7th round, CompuBox found Jorge Linares landing 18 punches to only 7 for Antonio DeMarco. But Harold Letterman, who does not use CompuBox numbers in formulating his round scoring, gave the round to DeMarco. 3rd straight round he's given to DeMarco, and now that narrows Linares' lead on the Letterman scorecard to 1 point. Might not be all that easy a fight to score, and of course the 3 official judges may differ from Harold. And let's go to Max Kellerman with Freddie Roach in Linares' corner.
Freddie, Linares looking so impressive in the first 4 rounds. What changed in the 5th?
DeMarco started putting a little more pressure on us, trying to back us up, and he's had some success with that style. He's trying to take control. I'm trying to get Jorge to get back in control and back this guy up and stay in control of the fight.
You asked him to use his jab going into the 6th round. He didn't and paid the price. What's going on?
Yeah, he's letting him come to him too much. He's forgetting about the jab. He's just a little excited and trying to exchange too much a little bit. And he's looking for the exchange and the combinations, and I think looking for the knockout too much. I don't think he's really ready for that yet. DeMarco, I'd like to see him break him down for a little more first and then try this. But I think still he's doing well with the combinations. The blood's bothering him a little bit, but he's okay.
Your level of anxiety as the trainer right now in the corner?
It's high. I mean, I'm worried about the cut and the blood, of course, and the fight's getting a lot tighter, of course. But I still think he's outscoring the guy, and I think we're still ahead.
Thanks, Freddie.
Thank you.
In this round, Linares has landed 3 good left-right combinations, is moving, but moving backward and moving away as counterpunchers do. DeMarco is still the aggressor in this round, coming forward, but has not landed nearly as many effective blows, it appears, as was the case in the preceding 3 rounds. Some judges, particularly American judges, have difficulty scoring for counterpunchers because aggressors look to them as though they're controlling the fight. So it becomes interesting to see whether Linares can now get past this test, or whether it's Antonio DeMarco who's going to polish his own credentials tonight.
You see how much more naturally the jab snaps out from Linares when he's not coming forward. Oh, now the cut over the right eye of Linares.
So Linares now has 2 cuts. Even though hard right hand by Linares. Even though tonight, to my lights, he's winning the round, he sustains a 2nd cut in this round, and now Joe Chavez has 2 things to work on.
Oh.
And the anxiety level goes up again for Freddie Roach.
This one's over the eye.
Okay, Jorge.
Linares may find himself the victim of a TKO on cuts in a fight that he's winning on the scorecards.
All right. When you went on that under and out, I want you to turn them into the shot, into the combination for me, okay?
Yeah. That was also caused by a punch. How we doing? ¿Cómo estás, Jorge?
We're fine.
¿Estás bien? ¿Estás seguro? ¿Respiras bien?
Jorge, you okay? Can you breathe well? Yeah? Good.
All right. Combinations under and out. Let's see that. Come on, get that jab going again for me.
Doesn't matter how skilled you are if your face is going to break up under pressure. CompuBox numbers in the 8th round, Jorge Linares 26 out of 69, including 17 power connects. DeMarco 9 of 50. Harold Letterman gives that round to Linares, who gets a tiny bit of breathing room on the Letterman card, but of course, he sustained a cut over the right eye in that round as well. And that may be more important than who won the round.
I think what Linares is really finding here is there's a big difference between fighting an older, faded fighter who has a name and a young fighter who shows up thinking he can win and fights with real vigor, like DeMarco is doing.
That is such a good point, Max. I was going to point out earlier that Linares has rolled through fighters who are on the downside of their career, like Oscar Larios, like Francisco Lorenzo, Ricardo Juarez, Jesus Chavez, that's Rocky Juarez. All of them had names, but all of them were beyond their best when Linares was beating them. That's not the case for DeMarco. Linares' hand speed remains intact.
Yeah, he's doing everything good. It's just, I think DeMarco was just adjusted to his speed. And is fighting a very smart fight, a lot of calculated pressure. He's placing his punches very well, very conservative with his punches. And at this stage, I don't think that Linares is used to having some fighter, as you were saying, Max, on this level with him, a young, competitive fighter instead of just an old name fighter. And all of those punches he threw, nothing was effective as far as landing on DeMarco. And DeMarco's right back in his face again, putting pressure on.
The fight would feel a lot different had Linares' face not fallen apart, because he's still doing some very good work, and I believe the cuts are also contributing to the fact that he's getting hit. It's harder to see the punches coming, but it just doesn't look good for him. He's a bloody mess, and his opponent looks fresh.
As we pointed out, many judges score blood. That doesn't augur well for Linares. The fight can be stopped on cuts, and these are cuts caused by punches. That doesn't augur well for Linares. The balance has shifted here. And if Linares happens to win the fight under these circumstances, he gets even more credit for showing courage. But the question marks have arisen, including, is his face always going to break up like this against hard punchers?
And also, DeMarco is a nice, tough fighter. But if he's having life and death with Tony DeMarco, what happens at the next level? Because there is a next level.
So all of our early round enthusiasm now gets upended by the new circumstances in the fight, and that's what boxing's all about. Triple left hook by Linares.
So far, Linares has shown a real fighter's mentality in the face of this blood on his face, and this guy in his face.
Nice job, son. You're fighting beautiful.
Look at him one more time. Let's go.
He's okay. Come on. Let him work on the cut. He's fine.
Okay.
Threw my medicine away. Shit.
So keep fighting hard. The combination, yeah, listen. The combinations under and out.
Gentlemen, if I bring the doctor in, I need you to step out of the way, please.
Tough night. Jorge Linares cut on 2 places on his face, maybe 3. The blood immediately starts to flow from the bridge of the nose. He's going to bleed all the way through the 10th round. CompuBox numbers in the 9th significantly favored Linares again, 22 out of 65 against 9 of 45 for DeMarco. Harold, how do you have it through 9?
Well, boy, that Jorge Linares got some guts. Holy macro. 6 rounds to 3, 87-84, Jorge Linares. Jim, in rounds 8 and 9, just incredible performances by Linares. The guy's bleeding like a pig. He's backing up, doing everything I said he shouldn't do, and he outpunched DeMarco in both those rounds. I mean, what a performance in 8 and 9 by Jorge Linares. Keeping his hands moving, landing some sensational shots. I think he took over the lead in this fight, and, you know, he's in a commanding position right now. All he's got to do is be careful he don't get clocked in the last 3 rounds.
But Harold, what chance, excuse me. Go ahead. 6 rounds to 3. Harold, Emmanuel, excuse me, I'm sorry, Harold. Emmanuel, what chance that Linares and his face and cutman Joe Chavez are going to make it through 3 more rounds?
That's what I'm concerned about, you know, because the blood is coming in, and he said the cut on the nose is very difficult to stop. And now he's got a cut on his right eye. And DeMarco, even though he's being outpointed, is still putting a lot of pressure on him. He's walking him down, and after every exchange, he's right there applying pressure.
Guys,
I would say this Linares is in great shape.
I'm not sure if I heard correctly, but I thought I heard in between rounds in Linares' corner, someone say, I don't have my medicine. I don't know if they're referring to coagulant, or I'm not sure if that was a cut man saying he doesn't have something he needed for the cuts, but it sure sounded that way to me.
Well, that's the only thing they could mean. It's not cold medicine, that's for sure.
Is Linares swallowing his blood, Emmanuel?
I don't think so. Well, I shouldn't say I don't know.
That would be a problem, obviously, if the blood from his nose were going into his mouth. I mean, remember Meldrick Taylor swallowing blood against Julio Cesar Chavez down the stretch, and ultimately it helped to bring him down. Does appear that the blood is dripping off of Linares' nose and over his mouth without going in. And he's having another terrific round.
Good round. DeMarco gets in position, but always Linares gets out first, and then he gets away before DeMarco can get off.
Apparently, we're getting word now that Joe Chavez, the cut man, somebody inadvertently knocked a Q-tip out of his mouth during the round, and so he didn't have his medicine on that Q-tip. Not that he's unprepared without medicine.
Well, he's got to get Linares through 2 more rounds if he can make it through the next 30 seconds of this one. He appears to be getting safer on the scorecards, but he's no safer with regard to the blood on his face and the cuts, which are deepening.
Well, DeMarco doesn't punch enough, so he's able to get back. DeMarco is still fighting a very technical fight when this time he should be a little bit faster, more aggressive, but probably afraid that he may get caught himself.
Do you think
the speed of Linares is still bothering him?
That's the point I was going to make. Do you think Linares stared him down in the last 2 rounds with all that hand speed?
Yeah, that speed is just blazing too much still. And the thing is, DeMarco in his mind probably, I'm quite sure, feels that he's winning the fight.
All right. Alex, what?
Yeah.
All right, we need activity. We got 2 rounds to go.
Yeah.
All right. When you do your combinations and get under and out, you're looking really good. All right. Make it clean. Get under and out clean, okay?
Okay. Okay.
Don't let him back you up.
Y suéltale, por el amor de Dios. Tenemos que
Lift your
noquear.
hands, please. We've got to knock him out.
¿Sí me entendiste? Es un campeonato del mundo.
You understand? This is a
No
world
lo vamos a ganar si
championship.
no
We
noquea.
can't win if you can't knock him out.
Romulo Quirarte asking his fighter Antonio DeMarco to knock Linares out. He has told him he's not going to win the fight on the scorecards. You saw the CompuBox numbers, which show that Linares has outlanded DeMarco in every round of the fight by CompuBox count. Punches in the 10th round, DeMarco 4 of 27, Linares 19 of 47. Emmanuel Stewart, there's just no explanation for why a fighter in the position and DeMarco is in at this moment would only have thrown 27 punches in that round.
Yeah, he said Linares has outboxed him, outfighted him, outspirited him, and it's amazing that he's in such a great position, but he won't let his punches go.
Since the bad cut appeared on Linares' nose, he landed 85 punches to only 27 for DeMarco. That's called fighting back.
Part of the problem here may be that Linares gets very good sparring at wild card. You got a tall, lanky right-hander in Khan. You got a short, fast southpaw in Manny Pacquiao, but he's fighting a tall, lanky southpaw here. How do you quite, it's tough to get sparring for a guy like DeMarco.
Incidentally, he hasn't yet sparred with Amir Khan.
Right.
That point should be made. He sparred 30 rounds with Pacquiao. He has not been in the ring yet with Khan. And now here comes DeMarco again. Crowd is buzzing as it appears DeMarco has another chance. Linares says, come on in. The blood is bothering Linares. The blood is flowing into his right eye.
There's a real change here, Jim. Yep. Linares is getting hit with everything. He wasn't getting hit with anything. Now he's getting hit with everything.
But he's firing back still.
Firing back.
He's still firing back.
Ducking and slipping, blocking a couple, getting hit with a lot. Oof. If they make it out of this one, the 12th round will be high drama. But there's still a minute to go in the 11th.
And DeMarco.
Hard right hand by DeMarco after a body shot by Linares. Linares' entire face, a mask of blood. He lands a right hand in return and backs DeMarco up.
What a round.
What a fight. It's become a potential fight of the month candidate.
It's one of the best rounds you can see. Linares seemingly badly hurt in the nose with a right hand by DeMarco moments ago.
Two amazing shots by DeMarco. How did Linares stay up?
It's over.
And Raul Cais is going to stop the fight and give DeMarco a TKO victory. Amazing show. Tremendous win for Linares. Overwhelming for DeMarco. Overwhelming setback for Jorge Linares, who is brokenhearted in his corner.
He fought his heart out.
He fought his heart out.
I think those injuries had a lot to do.
Early in the fight, he looked amazing. This is the second time now Linares has stepped up against a young, hungry fighter. And in spite of an incredible package, he somehow seems to be less than the sum of his parts. But it's his second loss.
He didn't do anything wrong tonight. I thought he fought great. He looked. I would still have the same confidence in him in any fight he fought. But tonight, the cuts, I think, and the fact that DeMarco adjusted to his speed after the first round.
Here's the secret, guys. Linares can't fight guys from Mexico. He has had only 2 fights against Mexican opponents. Well, no, make it 3. He beat Gamaliel Diaz. But in 2 out of 3 fights against Mexican opponents, he winds up with knockout losses, despite the amazing skill.
Young, tough Mexican opponents.
That's right. So Linares' record slips to 31-2. Antonio DeMarco moves up to 26-2. Emmanuel, tell us what's happening here.
Right here, you see this short, straight left right here that probably changed the whole course of the last round. That shot landed directly in the center of the face, right on the nose.
And I believe the blood flowing into Linares' right eye probably had something to do.
Yes, and as DeMarco is blocking punches, he's steadily moving forward. And every punch that he delivers now, he's lunging and pushing his entire body through with the punch.
So a big comeback and a brilliant win for Antonio DeMarco, who collects a lightweight title belt, and another demoralizing setback for Jorge Linares. One more look at the end of the fight. A spectacular 11th round in which both fighters gave their all, and ultimately Raul Cais stopped it. Hard to disagree with the stoppage, given the nature of the damage to Linares at that point.
Linares didn't protest.
No, he didn't come
Let's go to ring announcer Michael Buffer for the particulars on the TKO.
Ladies and gentlemen, in the tradition of great battles in the lower weight divisions here in Los Angeles, from the Olympic Auditorium to the Great Western Forum, and now continuing here at Staples Center, we've just seen one of the greatest displays of courage in the ring. Before announcing the winner, how about a round of applause for this great display of courage here tonight. Referee Raul Caiz Sr. calls a halt to the bout at 2 minutes, 32 seconds of round number 11. The winner and now WBC lightweight champion of the world, Antonio "Tony" DeMarco.
CompuBox numbers in the fight. Only in the last round did Antonio DeMarco finally land more punches than Jorge Linares, who had landed more in every round up to that point. Linares winds up landing more than twice as many punches, outlanding DeMarco by 119. He throws 187 more punches. He lands at a 12% higher connect rate and winds up with a TKO loss. Power shots. 83 landed for DeMarco. Again, Linares landing 66 more, throwing 171 more, landing at a higher percentage. He winds up with a TKO loss.